approaching the scene. Mike, back to you.
7:30. Boy, this is going to be interesting in about 2 hours. Congress is set to start the much-debated hearings on Islamic radicals today. They say the goal is to find a way to combat homegrown terrorists. New York Congressman Peter King's leading the way here, he'll be in charge of the hearings this morning when they start, say Muslims should not feel threatened by these hearings. Meanwhile, the Director of National Intelligence says there were more plots involving extremists aligned with al-Qaeda last year than in 2009. So they're on the increase. Today's highlight is expected to be testimony from the families of two men charged with terrorist acts who were allegedly influenced by Muslim radicals. So let's bring in Congressman Pat Meehan and President of the Philadelphia Association of Arab Americans, Marwan Creedy.
Good morning.
Congressman, let's start with you. The hearings and Peter King himself have been branded by the critics as racist and an attack on an entire religion and reminiscent of the McCarthy hearings, Cold War communist witch hunts of the 1950s. How do you characterize these hearings, Congressman?
Well, I wish that those weren't the characterizations because I think that they miss the mark. The focus here is not to attack Islam, which is one of the world's great religions, but it's to attack radicalization that is taking place within that venue, that those who are able to be in some way lured into a sense that they are authorized or somehow empowered to carry out acts of violence against the United States, which is not consistent with the teachings of Islam. How do we deal with the radicalizations?
So, Marwan, your turn. How do you characterize these hearings?
Well, they were obviously an attempt at McCarthy. McCarthy had an attempt to go after the Muslim community. I mean, look, Representative King is taking facts from known anti-Muslim bigots like Bridget Gabriel and Robert Spencer and Steve Emerson, and making up facts about Islam. He's been telling people that 85% of mosques are led by radicals, and he's saying that the Muslim community does not cooperate with law enforcement. And these are just plain wrong. I mean, Congressman, good morning. You should know better than that. We worked together after 9/11, and you know that the Arab and Muslim community in Philadelphia worked very closely with law enforcement.
So, Congressman,
so when Representative King says falsehoods like that, you should challenge him on that.
Well, I don't disagree, but what we're doing here is missing the mark. I say I don't disagree in the sense that we have worked together to reach out to the community, but what we are discussing here is the fact that of right now the Department of Justice of the last 228 cases, 186 of them have been tied back to individuals who have used Islam as the justification, including in their actions. So what we're talking about is looking at this particular issue. It's the radicalization. This is not an attack on Islam in any way, but asking for help within the community for us to be able to identify how it is that somebody's able to be lured. Look, you have three people from the administration itself right now saying that the chairwoman of Homeland Security, the head of the FBI, the Attorney General of the United States, who says he's not sleeping at night, and it relates to the issue of radicalization.
Would you agree that we certainly have quite a few examples of Americans who have been radicalized? It is happening in our country. You're not denying that.
Right, but what you don't do is you don't stigmatize and ostracize a community. I mean, if we look at, for example, Representative King says Muslims don't cooperate with law enforcement. Well, there's not a single law enforcement official who's going to go on this panel or who agrees with him. In fact, any study that's done, the recent study out of Duke University says that the American Muslim and the Arab community cooperates with law enforcement.
Well, are you concentrating too much on Peter King?
Well, I think that's... The cooperation with law enforcement, there has certainly been instances of cooperation, but you're going to hear testimony today, or I believe you're going to hear testimony today from people from within the community themselves.
Right. I mean, what is the point of the hearings, Congressman?
They have been,
what are you trying to accomplish?
Been influenced.
Well, look, America works best if you work together with your communities and don't try to ostracize us. The way this panel has been put together and the way that Representative King has put it together is that every single Muslim community, every legitimate organization is against it. if he had worked with
well,
the
that's
community,
just not
perhaps-
accurate, Marwan.
well,
I'm not going to let you get away with that
hold on a
kind of a
second.
characterization,
Well,
Marwan.
tell me
That
one-
simply isn't an accurate representation of what's taking place.
It is.
And that's the difficulty right here when we're talking about the issue of radicalization. For you to make that kind of an overbroad statement and suggest that this is the subject behind it before we even begin
Before we
to
even
talk
start
about the
talking.
issue, it's being mischaracterized.
So real quickly, Congressman, I mean, again, for everybody, it's going to start in a little while. What do you want to accomplish with the hearings?
Well, I hope that what we can do is to begin to have a real debate in this country on how we can work together with the Muslim community to identify how it is that certain individuals are being attracted into jihadism and into radicalization. And we've got to be able to work together with the community. Marwan and I have done that in the past as U.S. Attorney. I am not looking to change that dynamic, but we do have to deal with the fact that this is what we've seen a change dynamic in the last 2 years, and we've got to work together to try
I'll tell you what, I would love to
nip
have
this
you
at
both
its root.
come back once we hear at least the first couple of days of the hearings and get your response to it, because we're talking about something that hasn't even happened yet. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. 7:36.